What's up, everyone? Welcome back yet again. Today I am talking about XRP or Ripple. Obviously, one of the biggest crypto in the space right now. Also, one of the most talked about. And I say talked about because it's all over Twitter. It's obvious. It's trending a lot of the time. There's a lot of other YouTubers also doing videos about this, and especially on Twitter, we're seeing posts like XRP is going to change the world. It's going to change the financial system. It's going to make millionaires overnight, possibly billionaires overnight. And there's so much hype around this, so much, let's say spam in the ether about this, because that's what I think it is, to a point. But yeah, I wanted to do this video today a little bit to talk about the fundamentals, where I think XRP is going. I will do a sort of a comparison on Ethereum because it's the only comparable asset which is bigger. What I think it is, it is bigger, but I think it is the only comparable asset to Ethereum, to XRP, Ethereum to XRP. And I think comparing the two might give some inclination of what will happen and roughly how long it could take, because I honestly don't see it doing 100x from here overnight. I do think it could be a very worthwhile investment over time. I personally own a lot of XRP. My position, though, is rarely new, sort of new, and I will explain a little bit about that as well. So yeah, let's just get into the video. Once again, thank you so much for subscribing. I am inching ever closer to 500 subscribers, which has been a personal goal of mine, especially in becoming a YouTuber. Starting from that very first video up until now, it's been a bit of a grind, I should say, but it's becoming better and more fun as I go along. And yeah, like I said, it's just a personalized milestone, and I'd love if you subscribe to my channel. All right, let me not bore you anymore. Let's get into the rest of that video. All right, so here we are at CoinMarketCap, the home base of basically any crypto, I think. So like I said, if we look at the all-time of XRP, we can see like $142 billion market cap. Now, lately, there's been this article about Federal Reserve, other parties building a $1 billion trust or doing a $1 billion buyback. And obviously, that will raise the market cap. That could also stop selling pressure. As we can see at this last period here, there is, of course, a lot of selling pressure, and obviously that's good. Like that, generally when they're officially buying back, when they're pumping money back into the market cap, that is 100% a very good thing to happen, and it needs to happen. It needs to happen over time, organically. Dips have to be bought up by other traders. That's how simple it is. It's a pool of money, and there needs to be more money in order to increase the price of XRP. And yes, that's a good thing, but $1 billion, as you can see, on 142, it's not a lot, and it's definitely not enough. And the downside, which I think with all these bigger parties buying up XRP, but Ethereum as well, Bitcoin as well, Solana as well, Ethereum as well, all these bigger parties are buying them off market. So they're not buying on the open market. This $1 billion buyback, I should say, is going to happen on the open market. So they claim. So this will be on the open market over time, controlled buys in order to stop selling pressure. So that is 100% a very good thing. But I think it's still like the manipulation on the back end is still there. I think that is the biggest fundamental flaw in crypto today, especially on the bigger, more vested, more secured crypto, I should say, because they're buying at certain prices off market, and they're able to dump the tokens and then get them cheaper again and able to technically buy back without affecting the prices. So obviously this is a little, it's technically it's not illegal, but it feels a little bit wrong, and it's wrong to retail investors where they're trying to draw money from, or other investors, just sort of like we are, because we all want to make a profit. So this is a little bit of a pessimistic view on it. I do think that as more and more of these things happen, or supply start running low of certain tokens, they will not be able to do this anymore. And once that point is reached, for example on Bitcoin, where the supply already is very low, prices will start to skyrocket because they will be forced to buy on open markets, which will increase market caps dramatically, because it won't be a peer-to-peer buy or sell, it will be an open market buy. So what happens, all the money they use to purchase goes into the liquidity pool, increases that market cap, and directly increases the price with every single buy. Now, do I think XRP will do a 100x overnight? I don't think it'll happen, because if this doubles, if let's say this goes to $300 billion, what do you think will happen with all the people that bought even at the current price? Or possibly, well, nobody was able to buy this latest dip because that was a big manipulated crash. Nobody was able to buy. But even at the current price, what will happen if people, especially bigger investors, instantly double their money? They're going to sell. They're going to sell a lot. So they will immediately dump that token back. So this will not happen overnight. This will take time. It has to happen organically. And I say organically because if we look, basically, let's look at the 7-day chart. We see a big sell, we see a little bit of buying, we see some selling, we see a little bit of buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling. This is the game we know and love. Well, know and love, I should say. But let's grab it here. This is basically what needs to happen. It will start to slowly go up and down, up and down, up and down. But the general consensus is that it has to keep climbing. And I do think that will happen. I think, look at the yearly return. Even after that crash, the yearly return of XRP was out. Everyone was able to buy a year ago. You could still have made that 345% rise on XRP. Do I think this will happen every year? No, I don't. Because we will have bear markets. We will have times where crypto will be, let's say, shunned again, for a lack of a better word, where it will be a lot of fun in the market, a lot of fear in the markets. And generally, I think that is the time to be buying. Because we need to be buying when these markets are very fearful, because that's when we get the best prices. That's why I also look at fundamentals of projects. That's why I try to buy a good project at a cheap price. And I'm not looking for a horrible project with a potential to do 1000x and buy it because it's cheap. Because most of the times, those tokens will dump. Look at Melania. I think today it is down 99% from its release. Now, who would have thought that a token directly related to the First Lady in America would drop down 99%? Just like a Haktua coin or any of these other scammy meme coins, whatever, with zero added value in the world. Who would have thought that would drop down 99%? Especially also with Trump coin. Trump coin probably is a little bit higher. I haven't checked it, but easily another grift where millions of people, or a lot of people, lost millions, if not tens of millions. It's deplorable, but whatever. I don't think XRP is going to do that. I think XRP is going to keep growing organically. And like I said in the intro of the video, I think the only really comparable asset to look in the future to, because obviously it's currently in the top 5, I think the only asset you can really compare to it would be Ethereum. Ethereum obviously has a very big market cap, and at least several times as big, around 3.2 times bigger than XRP is currently. So that means it could give a little glance about how that price developed and how XRP will most likely develop. So what I've done is I've grabbed the XRP chart. This is a little bit of technical analysis I still had on it. I always try to leave my analysis on it to basically back check myself to see if I was right. You could see here at the time I was talking about how the price was compressing. It did broke down a little bit. It bounced off of that support and it basically followed that course almost exactly as I predicted a little bit. But of course that crash happened and it dropped us down to another support level. I don't think the narrative for crypto is over in 2025. I still think crypto will develop throughout this year. And I think, let's say Q1 next year, usually when the holidays are over, the festivities are over, around January, people start going back to trading. February, people start getting hyped. End of February, beginning of March, we usually see some kind of bullish movement, bullish momentum, depending on what the world does as well. If there's some positive news around that time, usually we see a little bit of a market boom. That's when I think, I won't use the term bull market, but that's when I think we'll see a lot of bullish momentum as we have on past years. You could see it even here. Even on March, it went up. Obviously, it dropped back down. Again, that's the same thing I was warning about earlier. If we see such a meteoric rise, usually it's followed by a big sell-off. That is not weird. That is normal. Like if I make 100% profit on something, I'm going to take profits, especially if it happens in a day. If in a day a token doubles or triples, if you're not selling, I don't think it's a smart move. Like I 100% would take profits on things. But that being said, you could see that like even around that time, there was a lot of buying pressure of this year. And even in February, there was also a lot of buying pressure. So it was a very volatile time, especially for XRP. But as we can see, we dropped back down to roughly this level. There are some supports below that, but I've not really done a very noticeable technical analysis on XRP in the meantime. But there are some support levels below it. But I expect a little bit more buying pressure. However, so we can see this price move. We can already see something happening. We see big buys, big sells, big buys, big sells. And even here, we saw a similar crash as we did here. This one was very sketchy to say the least, but this one was also a very big sell-off, and we can see these massive volume spikes as well, even climbing. Like you wouldn't say there's a lot of volume, but there's a lot happening here, a lot of buyers and sellers at the same time. Now if we look at Ethereum, so I have an Ethereum, I put it on a daily chart. This is the current price, and I divided the total market cap of Ethereum to match what XRP is roughly right about now. So that will put it around this price. So even if XRP is gonna go to the market cap of Ethereum, I think those charts will start looking very, very similar. So XRP will start shooting up, sell-offs will occur, it will start shooting up, sell-offs will occur, etc., 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 etc. And we can see basically, let's grab that little top down below to roughly the current price. That's 325%. That would basically a 3.2 times the current market cap of XRP. Now you can see how much is happening in there. Now, how would you maximize profits during these times? Buying these dips, buying these lows will set you up to be profitable. Now, if you're buying the hype, you can guarantee that around this time, and even right now actually, which is roughly the same price, around all these peaks is when XRP starts making waves, when there's a lot of news, when there's hype being generated. That's when people when they want to draw people in, and that's when sell-offs occur. Now you need to be ahead of these sell-offs. So when the entire market is red is the best time to be buying, even on the way down, because right now we're up here. Let's say you bought this dip. And this, of course, this is Ethereum, but even then, you would still be, after that correction, on a 90% or almost 100% gain if you bought around that dip or that dip. This one obviously a little bit less, but this one obviously a little bit more. And over time, you can see that that is the absolute best way to guarantee your profits. And this is roughly how many bars it can take. It can take up to 1222 bars to achieve that gain. So that is that, I've not done the exact math, but that is several years over and before you achieve that. And even now, it's not certain. Like Ethereum could drop back down to that level. I don't think it will, but it could very well do that. And even then, if we see another move like that back up, that's still like riding these waves is going to be profitable. But you have to be able to, you have to take some profits along these ways, along the way. And that's the same thing for XRP. Like if XRP does this, then right now, let's say tomorrow we start seeing Grayscale, BlackRock, US treasuries, whatever. People are claiming we're going to see 60 billion into these markets in one day, whatever. It's not going to happen. But let's say it does. Let's say this happens. All these people that are now in at this price, at 140% profit, they are going to take profits. They are going to sell, and you do not want to be left holding that back. You want to be able to take profits as well. Now, when that happens, let's say people take profit around that area. Prices start going down, and this is another bounce area. So we'll never know the exact bottom. But if something like XRP, an asset which will stay, which has staying power, I think it does. If something like that drops 40%, I'm buying it. Like I'm buying Ethereum, if Ethereum drops 20 to 30%, I'm putting a buy in. If XRP drops that much, I'm putting a buy in. And basically that top 10 of crypto, like Solana, Cardano, I don't really hold. I hold a tiny bit of a Cardano, but let's say Solana, let's say Cardano, let's say Doge, let's say Sui, Avalanche, whatever coin you hold. Like if you think it has staying power, if it has the good fundamentals that I'm always harping about, I'm comfortable buying up those, let's say, big corrections. But for crypto, we got to remember, with market caps as relatively small as they are compared to stocks of big companies or gold, the gold market cap, or even Forex market caps, which are astronomical in comparison. Like crypto markets are very small. They're much more easily influenced. That's why we have these big drops, these big movements on. And those big movements is also the reason why we profit as much. That's why we're all in crypto. We want to be profitable. But we got to remember that you have to position yourself into a place where you're able to take profits. Also, you have to be careful to protect yourself not to do the opposite, buying all the tops instead of all the bottoms, because you're drawn in by the hype. Because we're seeing these messages that XRP is going to 1000x, going to 100x, going to 500x overnight. The world is going to change. We're all going to use XRP as payments. Banks are going to close. Even if it does happen, and I think that's a very, very big if, but even if that does happen, that's going to take tens of years, not days. And if not hundreds of years, but it's going to take a very, very long time for a shift like that to occur. And you have to be smart about this, but because if big institutions would just start buying up on the open markets all the XRP, that would make us all instant millionaires, and that's not going to happen. They're not going to allow that to happen because we would be taking money from these bigger companies. That's not going to happen. They're not in the business of sponsoring people. They're going to try and take as much money from us, and they're also going to try to take as much profit themselves. So all we can do is ride these waves of manipulation and try to buy on these cheaper prices and try to set ourselves up for when supplies do start running low, when token prices do start going up. So that's a little bit of the analysis I wanted to do. I wanted to show the length of time it can take to do a move like this, and I wanted to show that it's not going to happen in several days. It's going to take a very long time. And I also wanted to show that there is definitely ways to make profits even at higher prices, because all these waves, you're able to profit off of them. And I think I'm gonna leave you all on that. I think I'm gonna close out this video on it because I want to prevent myself from rambling too much. But yeah, my opinion is XRP going to 100x, not overnight. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5 years. Nobody knows for sure. But I think if we look at Ethereum, which has had a similar journey up, I think it's very safe to assume that if it does happen, if a 2 or 3x is relatively possible for XRP, which is still a 200 or 300% gain, let's be real here. Considering XRP is one of the safer bets right now, I think that's still a very good return, especially if you're able to maximize through the dips along the way. So you could possibly gain a little more as you invest funds over time. At least that is my plan as a spot DCA investor, semi-trader. That's the goal. That's the plan for me personally. All right, I'm gonna close out on that. Thank you all for watching, and one more time, if you do like this video, this content I make, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm almost at my first personal goal, I should say. And yeah, leave a comment in the comment section below if you wanted to ask me a question, wanted to talk about XRP, or anything in a similar matter. And I'll see you on the next one, guys.